Happiness and joy, and specifically happiness and joy in our being Jewish and our fulfillment of our Jewish duties and responsibilities, is not simply an important component, but rather a critical and fundamental aspect to making Yiddishkeit vibrant, enjoyable, and indeed expressing it in the way that it needs to be. There is no mitzvah in the Torah that clearly articulates that a person has to be besimcha, has to be joyous. However, it has to be viewed as the most critical underpinning of everything that we do as Jews, and certainly everything that we do as individuals, in order certainly that the message that is conveyed through our practice of Yiddishkeit is one that expresses a joy and a happiness and an appreciation of the fact that we are Jewish and able to perform Torah and mitzvahs. In this week's parasha we read 98 horrific curses. Unfortunately, those curses have been realized throughout the ages at various times and brought upon our brothers and sisters. At the conclusion of those verses, it articulates the reason that brought us to the point where, God forbid, the Jewish people would be confronted by such horrific and horrendous circumstances. And the Torah simply states, Tachat asher lo avadata et Hashem Elokecha besimcha uvetuv levav merov kol. That all of these aforementioned curses will come about since we did not fulfill our responsibilities and serve God with happiness and the joy when we had everything. It's interesting, the verse doesn't say that it will befall us when we do not serve God. Rather, it simply states that it will occur when we serve God, but not with happiness and with joy. And therefore, it's increasingly important for each and every one of us, in every aspect that we do of our Yiddishkeit, be it kashrut, Shabbat candles, Shabbat itself, that the message that we convey in the manner in which we engage these mitzvot is one of tremendous joy and happiness, not, God forbid, as a burden and a tiresome and tedious activity. The holy Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Chassidic movement, expressed that from everything that one experiences and sees in life, one is duty-bound to glean and to learn a message in our service of God. It's very opportune that I'm using a tale from the Baal Shem, given that this Shabbos actually is his birth date, the 18th of Elul, together with that of the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of the Chabad dynasty. The Baal Shem Tov was once traveling with his students, and he came across a river that had been frozen solid by virtue of the weather. And now that it was frozen, some of the non-Jews in the region had gone and written different idolatrous remarks, be it expressions of faith, images of idolatry that they had engraved and etched into the river, which was now a solid block of ice. The Baal Shem Tov looked at this and he lamented as follows. He says, isn't it fascinating that so long as the river was flowing, a person could go into the mikveh, immerse himself in the river, and it is a mikveh, a ritual bath that transforms a person from being in a state of impurity to being in a state of purity, being that it's a natural source of water, and therefore a flowing river has the potential to purify and to elevate. He says, but now look at it. The self-same river is now frozen solid. And now that it is frozen solid, not only can you not immerse yourself and become pure by it, but indeed idolatry is able to be printed, is able to be etched on it. And that is what occurs when it is frozen. And said the Baal Shem Tov to his students, this is such a vital and an important message in our service of God. That the moment that our service of God is frozen, it's unimpassioned, it's unemotive, there's no feeling behind it, then unfortunately it's able to become even those aspects of our service of God, unfortunately become a platform for idolatry. It's a very important message, and it's perhaps a more important message today than ever before. Today we live in open societies and an open world, thank God. No oppression, freedom of religion, freedom to express ourselves, and many people, especially children, as they grow up and become a little bit more engaging and questioning, will say and view that Yiddishkeit is not liberating, but rather it's debilitating. Yiddishkeit restricts my activities on Shabbos. I can no longer go and play golf on Shabbos. It restricts where I go out to eat. I can't go to any which restaurant that I desire. It has to be a kosher restaurant. My home is going to be restricted by my Jewish way of life and Jewish values. And therefore, even when people embrace it and accept it, sometimes it is done, the keeping of Shabbat, the keeping of Kashrut is done with such a lackluster, with such a coldness and a lack of love and passion, that when our children see that, they don't see something that is enviable. They see ice. They see frozen. They see something that is a platform not for positivity but for negativity. And then it's no wonder why those children sometimes, when they grow up, they say, well, I don't want a bar of it. I don't want a bar of the kosher. I don't want a bar of the Shabbat. I don't want a bar even of necessarily marrying within the faith, because my associations to my faith and my religion are not one of warmth, but one of ice-cold emotion and sometimes of burden. And therefore comes along this week's parasha and says, it's not just that we have to abide by the responsibilities and duties which we as Jews have, but it's also equally important the manner in which we engage those things. It has to be not in a state of coldness, but besimcha uvetuv levav, with happiness, with joy, with a gladdened heart. And when our involvement in Yiddishkeit is one of passion, is one of enjoyment, is one of happiness and joy, the Yiddishkeit is not a burden but liberating. Then hopefully we stand a chance to convey the values of Yiddishkeit, of Torah and mitzvahs, to the next generation. Then hopefully we have a chance to be able to show the next generation why it is so precious to be within the Jewish context, to marry within the Jewish context, to educate our children within a Jewish context, because it is so pleasurable, it is so enjoyable, it brings so much joy and happiness into our lives. So let us ensure that not only do we keep our religious responsibilities and our commitments, but the manner in which we do it exudes love and passion, that it becomes contagious. The people who say it say, you know what, I want that kind of a joy in my life as well. Good Shabbos.